You are most welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Real Impartation Moment on Tuesday Night Anatomy with Daniel Open. Today's section, we are still in the era of neurovasculature. My friends, there is something which tends to bother most students when it comes to the region of the thorax regarding the venous drainage. And my friends, I'm talking about the posterior intercostal space being drained mainly by the Azygos system of veins. So my friends, that is why it is my job as the noted anatomical prophet to take you through these things so that you understand these things, so that of course during some MCQs of yours you'll be able to answer the questions confidently. And so without much ado, let's set the ball rolling, looking at the Azygos system of veins. So my friend, the topic here is Azygos system of veins. So mainly I'll be talking about Azygos vein. I'll also be talking about accessory, Hemiazygos, and then of course Hemiazygos vein. Okay, so these are the areas that I'm going to tackle. Now, before I go on with it, the first thing that I want you to understand is to think about it. These veins, essentially, the Hemiazygos, the accessory Hemiazygos veins, will essentially be draining into what we call the Azygos vein, which we find it in the right side overlying the vertebral bodies. Okay, over there, to the right side. Now remember that this Azygos vein will also arch at the level of the lower border of T4 vertebra, okay, and of course drain into something we call superior vena cava. So it makes sense that I begin this concept from the superior vena cava formative, tributaries. Now there is also another point which I want you to understand, that there's a thin line between formative tributaries and general tributaries of veins. Now you can have the formative tributaries, and then later we have other post-formative contributing tributaries. And I'm going to explain these things for you to understand. So the first thing, let's draw our superior vena cava. Now superior vena cava is toward the right side. So assuming this is my superior vena cava, okay, assuming it's over here. Now the first thing is that you know the formative tributaries of the superior vena cava, that we talk about what we call the right brachiocephalic vein. And then also we talk about the longer, okay, obliquely placed left brachiocephalic vein. So this is my, let me call it left brachiocephalic vein. And then the opposite one over here, let me just make it as if I have this. I have that of the right brachiocephalic vein. Okay, so these are the formative tributaries of the superior vena cava. So this guy over here is nothing but my SVC, superior vena cava. Now, last week I explained the development of the venous system. So from that point, you understand why the right brachiocephalic vein is shorter, because it's formed from only right anterior cardinal vein, actually the cranial portion. But that of the left brachiocephalic vein is from of course, the cranial portion of the left anterior cardinal vein and also the oblique anastomosis. That's why it becomes longer. Okay, that's what we see. Now, the next thing that I want you to understand is that we are going to the right side. Now remember that superior vena cava is toward the right side, just like inferior vena cava is formed toward the right side. So the first thing I want you to understand is that at the level, okay, so I want you to understand this. At the level, let me put it over here. Okay, so this vein is draining in here. So at the level of what we call T4, okay, vertebra. Now already you know that if we are forming this kind of superior vena cava, It is formed behind rib number towards the right side, rib number, of course, 1, and it ends at rib number 3. But at that same level, at the level of T4 vertebra, what we see is that we see the Azygos vein towards the right side draining into what we call this superior vena cava. That's first thing. Now, another thing that we see is that towards this, what we call the left side, we have copies of it, but not exactly the same. So I'm just using this one to show you. So one from below, one from upwards. Okay, so in this manner, the upper one is of course the one we are talking about, the accessory Hemiazygos vein. Accessory Hemiazygos vein. Accessory Hemiazygos. Okay. Now, remember that this accessory Hemiazygos vein also actually drains, okay, into this guy over here. So it drains into what we call this Azygos vein. And this time around, what I want you to know, I want you to know the vertebral level at which this accessory Azygos vein from the cranial aspects drain the posterior intercostal space will be drained into this Azygos vein. And my friends, it is at the lower border of T8 vertebral level. This is also very important that at the lower border of T8 vertebral level, okay, from the left side, from the upper portion, it will be drained in there like that. Now, also from the lower portion, this time around, we have what we call the Azygos vein. So this guy over here is nothing but the Azygos. Sorry, it's something we call Hemiazygos vein. Now, some people spell the Azygos, they bring you, no, there's no E over there. That is the Azygos vein. Now, it goes all the way, and it is also a tributary, okay? So look at it. It is also a tributary of this, Azygos vein, but it is not a formative tributary. I will show you the formative tributaries. It's not a formative tributary. Post-formative contributing tributaries. Okay, it also comes in here, and this time around, it's at what level? And this time we say it is at the level of the lower border of T9 vertebra. At the level of the lower border of T9 vertebra. So these are the two things I want you to understand. The first thing I mentioned that we have what we call the superior vena cava, and this superior vena cava is formed behind what we call the right rib number 1. Okay, by the confluence or by the union of what we call the right and left brachiocephalic veins. Okay, and what we are saying is that at the T4 vertebral level, it receives another tributary. Now remember, the formative tributaries of superior vena cava, they are just these two, right and left brachiocephalic veins. But the post-formative tributary, the contributory tributary, will also be coming from this guy, which we are calling it the Azygos vein. So this guy over here is our Azygos vein. Good. So now let's think about it. The first bit. Now to the posterior intercostal space. Okay, we have posterior intercostal veins over there, and they are going to be draining into these, Azygos and Hemiazygos or accessory Hemiazygos veins. But there are some catches I want you to understand, and that's why the purpose for this video. Now the first thing, remember that we can have the right fourth posterior intercostal vein. Now take your time and listen to it. It's the right fourth posterior intercostal vein. So assuming there's a vein over here, which is at this level, which we are calling a T4 level, there's a vein over here. That vein, because it is at that level, which is where this, Azygos vein is going to drain into the superior vena cava, then it means that that vein can actually drain directly into this, Azygos vein. Yes. So if I go cranial, let's go cranial. If I go cranial, then I'll get the third. Okay, that will be the T3. Let me call it T3 for now. The third posterior intercostal vein to the right. I'll also get the second. Okay, that will be, let me call it T2. and I also have the first. Let me put it over here. The first, let me call it T1. Okay, now the T terms, I'm using these black to nomenclate over here. I'm talking about the posterior intercostal veins. That I'm saying that because the right fourth posterior intercostal vein is at that level where this azygos vein arches and drains into the superior cava, then it means it can directly drain into it. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, the third, okay, this one, the T2, T3, okay, will drain into this way. The T2 will also come down and drain into it. Okay, now look at it. So it means the second, the third, and then the fourth right posterior intercostal veins, they are uniting and draining into the common vein, which is going into the azygos vein over here at the level of the T wall. Okay, so these guys together, all these three together, there's a name that we give to it, and that is something we call superior. Right is toward the right, so I'll say right superior posterior intercostal vein. So whenever we say right superior posterior intercostal vein, it's a single vein, but the contribution is coming from 3 different posterior intercostal veins towards the right. Okay, let me clean this one so that I get some space. Great, so that's what we see. Now the point is that, how about the first one? Now the first one goes directly. It goes directly this way. Now look at where it is. So it will just go directly and drain towards something which is very close to it. Where is it draining to? So that's the first right posterior intercostal vein. It drains directly to something which is very close to it. Now these guys, they joined, okay, to drain into this one. Usually, now the principle is that usually, even for the left one too, we will see it, that the second, third, and fourth will join. And they will become what we call the, the superior, intercostal vein. Then if it's toward the right, then we are calling it right superior posterior intercostal vein. Now, let's look at it. So that of the first one, okay, is drained directly into what? So if I ask you in exam that the first right posterior intercostal vein is a tributary of what? And your answer is what? Is the right brachiocephalic vein. But if I say that the right posterior or posterior intercostal vein is a tributary of what? Your answer is not going to be right brachiocephalic vein, but rather it's going to be the azygos vein. And that is a principle I want you to understand. Now, there's another thing about the nomenclature over here. This is the right first posterior intercostal vein. First is the first one. We are not calling it superior. The superior is rather the second, third, and fourth united. Okay, this is the first. And this first can also be called the highest. Or you can also say supreme. So this one, we are calling it the highest. Okay, the first or the highest, okay, posterior. Right posterior intercostal vein. Okay, I want you to appreciate that. Good. Now, having looked at that, how about towards the left side? Is there any variation to regard the left side? Yes, you have to understand these things. That toward the left side, okay, you also have, let me nomenclate it the same way. I will have, let's say, my T1 over here. I'll have my T2 over here. I have T3, let me say that, and then of course T4. These are the left posterior intercostal veins. Now let's look at something. Something happens. Yes, just like the right. Okay, the left. Okay, so this one also goes this way. Let me put it that way. Just like we saw from here. So this time around, this guy is our left, or let me call it the first or the highest left posterior intercostal vein. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, and that one is draining directly. So your answer is draining directly into where? The left brachiocephalic vein. And that's your answer. Now, in the case of this one, which is T2, T3, T4, they also combine, just like we saw over here. So these guys two also combine to form what? Just like we saw over here. So this one becomes what? The left, okay, superior, okay, posterior intercostal vein. Okay, these three also combine. But let's look at something unique over here. Something else happens. This time around, they are not drained into this one because this one is very close over here. This one actually drains, okay, directly into this, like this. In the case of the right, the T4 was enough, okay, to drain into this one. Now this one is not arching over here so that it can drain in here, no. So this one, that's why the T4 could drain, so that the other two could join it. But over here, the T2 is very close to this guy, and so directly, okay, it drains into it, and that is why the remaining three, okay, will drain in this manner. Okay, the remaining two. So T3 and T4, okay, posterior intercostal veins to the left will join that of the T2 and drain, become a common vein, which are called it left superior, okay, posterior intercostal vein, or left posterior superior intercostal vein. So that's what we see. Now, so please, I want you to understand this area critically, that in the case, this is where the difference is. In the case of the right superior posterior intercostal vein, it's a tributary of the azygos vein. But in the case of the left superior posterior intercostal vein, it's rather a tributary of the left brachiocephalic vein. Because for the reason that even the left brachiocephalic vein is longer from the embryonic viewpoint, so it's longer, so it can receive more. That is what we are trying to see. Now, having looked at this, the next thing, okay, which I want you to understand, and that will be the last thing which I'm explaining this one for you. The last thing is for us to appreciate the formative tributaries of the azygos and of course the hemiazygos veins, the formative tributaries. Then how do I know that? Now, there's a point. There will be some veins, okay, joining this way, another one from below. Okay, let's say there's the level which the azygos vein begins. Let's say there's the level which hemiazygos vein begins. Just like we saw for here, the same thing will happen here. Okay, so what I want you to understand is that there are only and only two formative tributaries for the azygos vein and of course the hemiazygos vein. Now look at how it is. We are talking about posterior intercostal space. Okay, so there are some kind of veins moving in this manner. Okay, so what do you think this vein is going to be? Of course, we are talking about the subcostal veins. Subcostal veins. So this guy over here, okay, becomes our right. Okay, this guy here is my right subcostal vein. Okay, and so the right subcostal vein, together with the vein which is moving from the upwards, so it is ascendant from the lumbar region coming upwards, and so that is why this guy will be called ascendant lumbar vein. So this guy over here is the ascendant and my friends, one thing I want you to understand about this ascendant lumbar vein is that this lumbar vein will receive some kind of tributaries. You don't have these lumbar veins, okay? When you look at the abdomen, you have some lumbar arteries. The same we have lumbar veins. So this guy will receive lumbar veins. Okay, there will be lumbar veins received by these guys. Okay, and when they receive them, they will form, they will move upwards, and that's why we call it ascendant lumbar vein. The same way for that of the left, the hemiazygos vein will be formed by, of course, this time around we're talking about the left subcostal vein, and then also we have what we call the left ascendant lumbar. Ascendant lumbar vein. Okay, I want you to appreciate this, that whenever we ask you that what are the formative tributaries of these ones, you should be able to tell. Formative tributaries of what we call the azygos vein, they talk about the right subcostal vein, and of course right ascendant lumbar vein. That of the hemiazygos, we talk about the left, okay, left subcostal vein, and of course the left ascendant lumbar vein. Okay, these are the things I want you to understand. Now, but there's one more thing which sometimes it comes in exam and then students find it difficult. Now, before actually draining, this Azygos vein draining into what we call the superior vena cava, is going to receive, okay, all those ones below. Okay, so we talk about the posterior intercostal veins which are below. Which are those ones? Yes, we talk about that T5, okay, around the level of T5, T6, and all the way, okay, up till T11. You are going to receive it by the Azygos vein toward the right side. The same way we are going to see the counterpart for the Hemiazygos and of course accessory Hemiazygos veins over here. That's what we see. But the question over here is that if I ask you, what is the last tributary? Yes, what is the last tributary? So it means that that one is not a formative tributary. It is a post, okay, what do you call it? Post-formative contributing tributary. Okay, so all these things I'm talking about, we formed it already. So they don't become formative tributaries. Post-formative contributing tributaries. So if I ask you, what is the last tributary of the Azygos vein before draining into what we call the superior vena cava? My friends, it is not this right superior posterior intercostal vein. No, that's not the one. It is actually the right bronchial vein. Right bronchial vein. And I want you to know that. So my friends, I believe you find this meeting helpful. This is a short video. Okay. Next week when we meet, we'll talk about other aspects of the neurovasculature. I'm very grateful for your time this evening. Have a good night, all of you, and may the good Lord richly bless you. Amen.